Have you ever felt that the more you reveal about yourself, the less powerful you become? In a world where people rush to share every thought, every plan, every emotion, the truly wise choose another path. They know that not everything needs to be spoken. Not every truth deserves an audience, and not every feeling must be exposed to be understood. A wise person learns that restraint is not repression, but protection. They respect the lessons of age while still young. They lift others quietly when they are strong, and they confess their flaws without shame, because they understand that life will one day humble us all. They do not chase perfection of form, but of spirit, because beauty fades, but virtue endures. They have seen that life is unpredictable, pain is certain, and peace must be chosen. They walk through chaos without being disturbed, not because they are numb, but because they have trained their mind to stay clear. Their strength lies not in what they say, but in what they keep sacred. So what exactly does a wise person always keep to themselves? Stay with me, and we'll explore the 3 most powerful things they never reveal. Things that protect their peace, preserve their power, and elevate their presence in a noisy world. Matter 1. A wise person guards his silence. A wise person walks through life with a quiet certainty, not because he lacks ambition or plans, but because he knows that the most powerful movements often happen in silence, when others speak loudly of what they intend to do. He simply does it. When others boast of their vision, he lets the result speak on his behalf. He does not parade his goals in front of others like a fragile hope seeking approval. Instead, he protects them like a sacred flame, nurturing them in solitude until they burn bright enough for the world to notice. This is not secrecy born of fear, but clarity born of discipline. There is an old saying, "Don't tell people your plans, show them your results." In a world obsessed with announcement and appearance, that simple phrase has become rare wisdom. The wise understand that premature exposure of their intentions invites distractions, judgments, envy, and unsolicited advice. These can slowly erode the purity of one's original intention, like a seed planted in fragile soil. Too much disturbance prevents growth, but hidden in the dark, in silence and care, that seed grows strong roots. Only then does it break through the surface. A wise person does not need to be seen in order to move forward. He understands that every time he shares a goal for the sake of validation, he is outsourcing confidence to someone else's opinion, and in doing so, he gives away power. The Stoics taught us to cultivate an inner citadel, a space within where clarity, purpose, and strength reside untouched by the noise of the world. In this space, he chooses to act, not react. He chooses to build, not to broadcast. This is not a rejection of connection or community. It is an embrace of sovereignty. When you walk with purpose, you do not stop to explain your steps to every passerby. You do not need a crowd to clap before you take a leap. As Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. The wise do not mind being underestimated. In fact, they welcome it. For while others waste energy on looking impressive, the wise invest in becoming strong. And so, a wise person guards not only his plans, but his mind. He knows that clarity is fragile when constantly exposed to the opinions of others. So he practices mental hygiene before he sleeps. He forgives, not for others' sake, but for his own. He empties his heart of grudges, not because he's weak, but because he understands that resentment rots the soul. A clear heart sleeps better, dreams clearer, and wakes with strength. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to someone who wronged you. It is the release of their poison from your veins. The wise know this, so they sleep with a clean heart and wake with a focused mind when he speaks. He chooses his words with the same care he applies to his thoughts. He does not speak to fill the silence, because he understands that silence is not emptiness, but power. Open your mouth only if what you're going to say is more beautiful than silence, the saying goes, and the wise live by it. Their restraint is not timidity, it is strength under control, just as still waters run deep. A quiet man often holds oceans within him. The wise also learn to trust something more ancient than logic, intuition, instinct. The inner whisper that tells you when something is off before your mind has the evidence to explain it. He knows that instincts are the soul's way of speaking, and though the modern world may train people to ignore these voices in favor of rational consensus, the wise man listens. He knows that not everything that is real can be measured, and not everything that is true needs to be proven. To protect his inner world, he also guards against the weeds that strangle the roots of confidence, negative thoughts, doubt, comparison, regret. He does not pretend these do not visit, but he does not give them room to grow. He watches his mind like a gardener watches his soil. When weeds appear, he pulls them early. He does not water them with overthinking or fertilize them with pessimism, for he knows that even a single unchecked thought can become a forest of limitation. He understands the paradox of strength, that it does not come from noise, but from stillness. A seed grows with no sound, but a tree falls with huge noise. Destruction has noise, but creation is quiet. This is the nature of power. The loudest people are often the weakest. The ones constantly speaking of what they will do are rarely those who finish what they start. The wise, by contrast, move silently. Their progress does not require announcement. It reveals itself. And when life tests him, as it always does, the wise man does not panic. He does not crumble when the leaves of his life fall. He remembers that even the trees lose everything each year, and still they stand tall. Still they wait for spring. He knows that emptiness is not the end. It is preparation for rebirth. So in the face of hardship, he roots himself deeper. He becomes still, and he waits. In relationships too, a wise man does not seek to possess or control. He understands that true power is not found in how many people listen to you, but in how deeply you are trusted by those closest to you. The most powerful man in the world is the one a woman fully trusts, the quote says, and it holds deep meaning. Trust cannot be demanded. It must be earned through consistency, through calm, and through integrity. The wise man builds such trust not through dominance, but through presence. He does not chase after 1,000 desires. He understands the strange truth of health, that a healthy man has many wishes, but a sick man only one. So he simplifies. He does not chase everything because he knows the value of clarity. He prioritizes peace over abundance, purpose over popularity, fulfillment over noise. And when his mind becomes crowded with thoughts, he knows what to do. He stops thinking, not forever, but long enough to break the loop of useless rumination. He meditates, walks, breathes. He knows that sometimes the mind becomes clearer not by solving the problem, but by stepping away from it. Most of all, he walks with purpose. And this is perhaps the greatest thing a wise person hides, his direction, not because it is unclear, but because it is sacred. A man who walks with purpose doesn't need the crowd to cheer. He already knows where he's going. The applause of others is a distraction. The noise of validation is often the thing that pulls us off course. But a wise person walks on, silently, with eyes fixed on his destination, and with peace in every step. This is how the wise guard their inner world. They act more than they announce. They think deeply, but not endlessly. They speak carefully, and they listen fully. They are not moved by every opinion, nor swayed by every trend. Their life is not a performance. It is a quiet rebellion against a world obsessed with attention. So if you wish to walk the path of wisdom, Do not rush to declare what you intend to do. Protect your clarity, guard your energy, trust your instincts, water your mind with silence, discipline, and focus. Forgive quickly, speak less, move with purpose, and above all, remember that greatness begins quietly, but it never ends unnoticed. 2. A wise person transforms pain into peace. A wise person understands something most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Life will challenge you. It will disappoint you. It will break your heart, test your patience, and leave you wondering why certain things happened the way they did. Yet, in all of this, the wise do not collapse. They do not let pain define them. They let it refine them. They take their wounds and turn them into wisdom. They take their sorrow and turn it into silence. And in that silence, they build peace. He may walk into the world every day with the same calm expression, the same steady steps, the same quiet focus. But inside him is a battlefield that no one sees. He might say, "I have many problems in my life, but my lips do not know that. They only know how to smile, and that smile is not fake. It is not a lie. It is a decision to not burden the world with what it cannot fix. A decision to keep walking, even when the weight gets heavy. That is not denial, that is strength. His strength comes from understanding that pain is not meant to be advertised. It is meant to be understood, transformed, accepted. The wise do not scream in frustration at every injustice. They do not explain every betrayal. They do not beg the world to feel sorry for them, because they have something greater than sympathy. They have mastery over how they choose to carry what has tried to break them. He finds solitude in things most overlook. A mirror becomes his friend, not because it gives him answers, but because it reflects without judgment. He looks at it and thinks, "The mirror never laughs when I cry. It holds space." And that is what the wise learn to do for themselves. They become the space in which their own healing can take place. They learn to sit with their pain, to breathe through it, to listen to what it has come to teach, and to not let it poison the person they are becoming. The world will always have people who try to bring you down, people who cannot stand your light because it exposes their shadow. People who spread rumors to distract from their own emptiness. The wise person sees this and simply smiles. He does not argue with fools. He remembers a simple truth. Haters spread rumors. Fools believe them, and the truly lost make them their reality. So he walks away, because peace is too expensive to waste on the ignorant. He remembers his father's words, that there are two kinds of people in this world, givers and takers. The takers may eat better, but the givers sleep better. He chooses rest over indulgence, integrity over gain. There is a deep joy in knowing that you did good, even when it went unnoticed. There is peace in giving when no one is looking. The wise person does not keep score. He keeps his soul clean. He understands that risk is not the enemy. It is the gatekeeper to growth. When he takes a chance, he does not worry about the outcome. If he wins, he leads. If he loses, he learns. Both paths elevate him. Both outcomes shape him into someone better than before. He knows that life is not about staying safe. It is about stepping forward with courage, even when the result is unknown. And still, no matter how kind, how honest, how noble he tries to be, he knows something uncomfortable in someone else's story. He will always be the villain, and that is something the wise accept. They do not waste energy trying to control the narrative. They live with integrity, even when it is misunderstood. They speak with honesty, even when it is misquoted. They do not explain themselves to people committed to misunderstanding them. They know no one in this world is pure. No one is perfect, and if we start cutting people off the moment they fail us, we will end up alone. So they forgive often, they judge less, they love more, not because others always deserve it, but because it protects their own peace. Because carrying anger is like drinking poison and hoping someone else will suffer. They would rather let it go and be free. They have learned the truth about human nature. You only see a person's true character when you are no longer useful to them. That is when the mask slips. That is when you see whether they valued you or only what you gave. The wise observe this quietly. They do not confront, they do not chase, they simply make space, and in that space, they make room for better people to arrive. And in all the noise of the world, the wise have come to love silence. Silence is not emptiness. It is protection. It is where the drama cannot reach them. They do not respond to every insult. They do not engage every argument, because they have learned that silence is better than unnecessary drama, not because they are weak, but because they are in control. They know that everything in life comes at a cost, and if you do not sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. The dream fades. The goal is lost. The inner fire dims, so the wise make their sacrifices consciously. They give up comfort for clarity. They give up approval for authenticity, and in doing so, they move toward what truly matters. They do not wait for the perfect day. They do not wait for the storm to end, because they know that if you spend your whole life waiting for the storm, you will never enjoy the sunshine. So they learn to dance in the rain. They find joy in what remains. They laugh during the lesson, because this is life, and it will never be fully controlled. And when they make a decision for themselves, they do not carry guilt for how others react. Do not feel bad for making a decision about your life that upsets other people, because you are not responsible for their happiness. You are responsible for your peace, and that is a responsibility the wise do not neglect. So they walk, sometimes alone, sometimes misunderstood, but always forward. They do not seek applause. They do not need validation, because what they carry is quiet, sacred, hidden from the surface but burning steady beneath. Their pain is no longer pain. It has become peace. Their wounds are no longer open. They have become wisdom. A wise person never denies that pain exists. He simply chooses to master it, to rise above it, to walk with it without letting it weigh him down. That is the hidden strength no one sees. And that is one of the three things he never shows, because peace, once earned, is too precious to explain. It is lived, it is felt, it is protected, and it is the mark of a person who has turned suffering into something eternal, something still, something strong, something truly stoic. 3. A wise person walks away quietly. A wise person knows that clarity is not something found in the noise of the world. It is something cultivated in silence, in stillness, in solitude, while the crowd rushes to speak louder, move faster, and prove more. The wise step back and ask a quieter question. Is this helping me see clearly, or only making me feel busy? They have learned through experience that chaos rarely appears all at once. It builds slowly, like fog creeping over the landscape of your life. One unnecessary obligation, one unresolved argument, one distracting voice too many, and before long, you cannot see your own thoughts. Your direction becomes blurred, and what once felt meaningful now feels like noise. That is why the wise detach. Not because they do not care, but because they have come to understand that not everything deserves a reaction. Not every fire needs to be fought. Not every invitation into conflict is worth accepting. They choose peace, not because it is easier, but because it is clearer. They study their past not to linger in regret, but to learn, to observe patterns, to understand cause and effect. Because if you do not understand where you have come from, you are likely to repeat it, and if you want to define your future, you must begin with honest reflection, yet they also know that growth has a cost. When you begin to refine yourself, when you start to move in silence, when you begin saying no to the noise, something strange happens. The world around you shifts, invitations stop coming, people misunderstand you, loneliness knocks. But this is not punishment, it is proof. When you begin to improve yourself, loneliness is often the price you pay, because clarity creates separation, and not everyone is ready to walk where you are going. Still, the wise embrace the path. They understand that a lone road teaches you things a crowded one never could. They see solitude not as emptiness, but as depth. It is in that silence that the truth of your thoughts finally becomes audible. It is in that distance that the weight of your own soul is felt clearly. And when emotions rise, they know how to locate their position. If they feel the pull of sadness, they examine the past. If anxiety shakes them, they are likely projecting into the future. But when peace arrives, they know they are fully present. The Stoics understood this well. If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. But if you are at peace, you are living in the present. The wise choose presence, because presence is where the power lives. They also choose humility. The willingness to admit ignorance is not a weakness, but the first step toward wisdom. A fool who knows he's a fool is wiser than a fool who believes he is wise. The wise are not interested in appearing right. They are interested in becoming better. They observe, they listen, they ask, and in doing so, they grow without the noise of ego. This mindset allows them to walk through life as students, not as masters. They see every experience as part of the journey. Not every moment is easy, but every moment is valuable. Life is not a straight path. It is a series of steps, detours, lessons, surprises, and every step, even the painful ones, brings you closer to who you are becoming. That is why they embrace each experience, for even the smallest of moments hold profound lessons. They do not mourn the closed door forever. They do not stand still waiting for what is gone to return. When one door of happiness closes, another quietly opens. But too often we remain facing the one that shut, failing to see the new opportunity just behind us. The wise shift their gaze. They accept endings, and in doing so, they remain open to new beginnings. And above all, they choose self-acceptance, because the only thing that will make you truly happy is being happy with who you are, not who others want you to be, not who you were yesterday, but the version of yourself you build through discipline, self-reflection, and courage. That is where contentment grows. They do not wait for time to fix things. They do not hand over responsibility to the clock. Time does not change your life. It only changes the expiration dates on missed chances. If you want change, you must move. If you want clarity, you must create space for it. And if you want to see things differently, you must first see yourself differently. This is why the wise keep their minds open. They know that, just like a parachute, a mind only works when it is open. Closed minds fall. Open ones catch the air. Open minds rise. And rising requires letting go of certainty, of judgment, of the need to always be right. They also understand the importance of emotional discipline. The most important decision you make is to be in a good mood, not because everything is going well, but because your mood is your responsibility. It is the atmosphere in which all your decisions grow. A bitter mind sees threat everywhere. A peaceful one sees choice. So they distance themselves from chaos, not in retreat, but in wisdom. They use silence as their compass. They seek peace not as a destination, but as a condition for clear action. Distance allows them to break free from the clutter. Silence allows them to hear their inner voice. Peace gives them clarity to move with precision and purpose. When they find themselves on the wrong path, they do not justify continuing. They stop. They reroute. They get off at the nearest station. Because the longer you stay on the wrong train, the more expensive the return trip becomes. This is not just about travel. It is about careers, relationships, habits, beliefs. The wise do not stay stuck out of pride. They change direction out of awareness. And in their awareness, they do not ignore what is truly valuable. They do not lose what matters while chasing what fades. Never ignore someone who cares for you, because one day you may realize you lost a diamond while collecting stones. The world is full of distractions, but clarity reveals what truly matters. They know that anger, especially when hidden behind a kind heart, is dangerous. It builds quietly, over time, and when it explodes, it often hurts the one who carries it most. So they release what poisons them. They walk away from people who belittle them, from fights that have no end, from relationships that trade peace for performance. The more they walk away from what poisons the soul, the healthier they become. Because life does not stop being life. The rain will fall whether you curse it or not. The traffic will exist whether you worry or not. People will act according to their nature whether you approve or not. The wise stop trying to control what is uncontrollable. Instead, they focus only on what is theirs to manage, their thoughts, their choices, their energy. In the end, a wise person chooses clarity over chaos, not because they were born calm, but because they have trained themselves to return to calm when the world tries to pull them away. They practice letting go, they practice stepping back, and from that space, they move forward with direction, with conviction, and with a kind of inner quiet that cannot be shaken by noise. That is the discipline of detachment. That is the power of choosing clarity. And that is one of the sacred things a wise person always keeps hidden from the world. True strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it speaks in quiet tolerance and walks in humble steps. The wise understand that kindness is not weakness, it is power under control. When you choose to be gentle in a world that often rewards aggression, you rise above the noise. You protect your peace without needing to prove anything. And that is what makes you truly powerful. If this message resonated with you, consider subscribing so you won't miss the deeper lessons we explore each week. And in the comments, simply write, "Stay silent," if you believe wisdom often hides in restraint. Remember, every quiet choice you make for peace plants the seed of a stronger, more grounded self. Keep walking with purpose. The next step in your journey might surprise you.